The Homelessness Committee continues its work. We have details from this week's meeting on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, March 30th, 2016. I'm Sarah Mantle. The Committee to End Homelessness in Hyannis hopes hiring a social service coordinator will help streamline services for those in need. The coordinator would act as a liaison to social service organizations and the town. Assistant Town Manager Mark Ells talked about the process.
Two meetings ago, I believe, I had reported back to the subcommittee relative to the idea of having coordinators and outreach positions either funded through employee status, a contracted status, or a consulting status. Following that, we had a meeting last Friday between myself, Councilor Cullum, and Deb Crow to further discuss the opportunity to have a outreach coordinator. And the thought is that there would be efficiencies gained and certainly, hopefully, a more effective provision of services if we had somebody out there bringing all of us together, the agencies that provide these services, our town through our police department primarily, and others as identified, so that we are better coordinated, focused on the specific areas of concern, and monitored in the sense that we can measure our progress, understand our progress, and then adapt our plan based on the progress that we have. So the hope would be that we could create such a position. I think we have had these discussions with the various agencies and service providers and just don't see that coming together yet, primarily because they're all out there focused on their specific missions and hopefully accomplishing what they're there to do, but that coordination doesn't appear to be there. As a result of our discussion and previous discussions, we found that going the employee route isn't the way to do that, certainly in the short term, and probably the more effective method and achievable given the time frames that we're looking at is either a grant-funded position or a contracted position. Contract could be either a consultant or a contracted employee. So what I tried to do following our discussion is start to rough out, and that's why this is stamped draft, the two different scenarios of a grant-funded or a contracted position and some of the other details that would follow either of those methods so that we can, and I can go through the list, but basically, and I can jump back to what each of these positions really mean, but we got to know the duration. How long are we going to do this for? How much is it going to cost us? Where's the funding going to come from? And we've already discussed much of this, but we need to solidify it, and we need to have council support, certainly, if we're going to move forward and utilize municipal funds for this. And then maybe more specifically, an area that we haven't gotten into is generating, what the qualifications for this person would be, what the scope of work would be, which I identified some minimal qualifications on the third page of this, and also some scope items for the third page, just to try to get this discussion going, because we know that in about a month, these areas and this issue will even be more active than it is right now. And if we're going to put these resources in place, if we're going to do it for this season, we need to do it relatively quickly. So we need to come to some closure on this. Some of my concerns in general are, and I've said it in previous meetings, I want to have clear objectives. I want to have deliverables so that we understand what we are going to receive if we're going to invest this money and these resources, and make sure that everybody's good with that, and then receive information back as we progress on it to see how well we're moving toward our targets here. And targets being those objectives and those deliverables that we expect to receive. I don't envision this being an administrator that sits in an office. I see this as a boots-on-the-ground sort of manager that's coordinating between the agencies and our PD and all of the surrounding issues. It'll be managed in either or any scenario at this point under the town manager's office, and we'll report back through our office to this subcommittee as we progress. And then we should probably, if we move forward with any scenario here, continue to discuss the future as to where this coordinator may land long term.
The committee also invited the Salvation Army staff to talk about the services they provide. Captain Cynthia Brown says they offer a wide variety of services.
Well, we offer many, many services. Everything from helping with rent and utilities to doing children's programs, to doing women's programs, to a soup kitchen and a food pantry, and what else?
We do clothing. Anybody that comes in that has a concern, I normally get them going in the right direction. I point them in the right direction. I also work outreach for the Council of Churches, so I kind of do a couple of different things, so I have a lot of people I can get to.
Town Councilor Jen Cullum expressed concerns about the food services provided by the Salvation Army, as well as the Cape Cod Council of Churches.
But I think that if we had maybe an extra layer of, we can call it caring, where somebody comes to the door and they're chronically homeless and you say, after you eat today, you're going to talk to us about the next step you're going to take with your life. And however that fits in with, and then maybe they talk to you for 30 seconds and they leave, but now they know when they come back for a meal, every time they come back for a meal, they're going to have that conversation. And eventually maybe, that seems a little bit more like community outreach to me than here's the meal, go back to the woods, go to the town green, and that would be just something I would offer. And that, I think, is a really easy way to get people to know that the community is actually doing more than 85%, which is just feeding, but asking to close that loop to make it 100% by saying, so here's your food, eat please, then talk to me about how your life is now and how we can make it better together. And whether that includes a church or that includes recovery or however that works out, or mental health, that I think is what we're looking for from a partnership, from a community standpoint.
Edie Neesmith, she is the executive director of the Cape Cod Council of Churches. She responded to the sometimes hostile tone, saying that the programs now operating have been proven to be successful.
If I may speak to our own statistics too, that over 10 years we have statistics for the Council of Churches that and it's really been Jill and Bob who have successfully fully moved over 300 people out of homelessness and into successful transitional or permanent housing. And we have a 90% success rate of those people not returning to homelessness. That's amazing.
That's terrific.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
I credit the expertise of my colleagues in that. And I think I ask that that expertise be respected around this table. These are people who know their stuff. They work really hard under really tough conditions. They know this population. I have been at the Salvation Army when Bob has been there in the morning, and I have seen I think I counted over a 20-minute period, 9 people come to the door to find Bob because they knew Bob was the person who was in a position to help them, and he did. This work is happening. It is happening on a daily basis, and it is happening, in fact, with great success. It is also happening within the context of an exploding opioid crisis and all these other major social factors. So to presume that the agencies are not doing their job or are ineffective is frankly insulting and wrong.
And the committee will meet again Tuesday, April 5th at 5:30 in the Selectmen's Conference Room. We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 8 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will learn more about the YMCA Achievers Program. We'll have our sports segment, which returns to Barnstable This Morning. Plus, we have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.